Hello and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to be doing some flowers using the water mixable oils. I know I've used these before, but I thought we'd go through it again, the difference between these and ordinary oils. So the main difference is you can use water to clean your brushes out, so you've not got any of the solvents and things, and it's much cleaner and easier to work being able to rinse your brushes out. But I don't actually use water too much as an actual medium for mixing, because it does tend to flatten and dull the colours a little. If you do use water for mixing, what you can do is then put a nice varnish or something over the top just to enhance the colours back again. Okay, so what I use quite often is this linseed oil. The only thing about this is when you use linseed oil, it's going to increase your drying time, so it's going to take quite a long time for your painting to dry, but it does give it a lovely finish. So this is what I use. So I've just tipped some of this out into a little pot, and I'll just pop that to one side. And then these are all the colours I've got, and I've picked out already the colours I want to use today. So just pop those out of the way. So today we're using cobalt blue, cerulean blue, Naples yellow, permanent rose, titanium white and some raw sienna. Now as I go along I might pick some more colours out, but those are the ones I picked out to begin with. And I'm going to be doing it on this Winton oil colour pad. I've used quite a few out of here. It only has 10 sheets in it actually, so you soon go through it, and it's an A4 one. And like it says here, it's acid free, so it should make it more archival. So I'm just going to take a page out, and I don't know if the camera picks it up too much, but it's actually got quite a canvassy grain to it, and it does say that on the front, and you can see there on the picture that it gives you that feel of a canvas, so you've got some texture. So you might not want this paper if you wanted your painting to be completely flat and smooth. You might want to use a board with some gesso for that, but it actually does give it quite a nice texture. So I'm just going to pop and look at the camera, see that's in shot. Okay, so to begin with I've done a margin, so we're just going to be working inside this margin mostly. I'm going to set off with doing quite a loose background, and I want it to be quite subtle colours and quite muted colours. If I can get the lids off. I do use my teeth to get the lids off quite often, and it's probably something we shouldn't do. I'm just going to put a tiny touch of each colour around the outside of this old plate. We can always get more colour out, but they're quite expensive, so it's quite a good idea just to get a little bit out to begin with, because we can always get more out and add to them. You're always going to need more white, and you're always going to be mixing your white with the other colours. So I'm going to get more of that out, but I'm actually going to do it in a couple of little piles, or 3, because you soon contaminate that when you start mixing, so it's nice to have some fresh white there as well. So I've just got 3 little blobs of white, and then the rose, and the raw sienna. So if we look at those all together now, we've got quite a subtle shades really, nothing too bright like the cadmiums, just quite a nice pale hues. So to begin with quite a big brush, because I want to do quite a loose background. So this is a number 8 flat brush. I'm just going to put some of that linseed oil in the centre of the plate and drag into it the colours that I want. So to begin with I'm going to put some cerulean in, with a tiny touch of the rose, a bit more cerulean, and some white. And that makes a lovely pale mauvey colour in the background, as if we've got some more of the flowers in the background there. And can you see, because there's plenty of oil, we're still getting the white of the paper coming through as well. And I'm going to just put that all over. And obviously it doesn't matter if we go over the margin. So I'm going to work wet in wet because, like I said, this is going to take an awful long time to dry with the linseed oil. And I want it to be muted tones and quite a romantic feel to it. So the wet in wet technique will work for it really. Now I'm running out there, so we need to mix some more. So it's always as well perhaps to try and have enough mixed up to begin with, but I don't mind mixing as I go along. It's the sort of the way I work, but you might, when you're beginning especially, want to make sure you've got enough colour mixed up at the beginning, because you're never going to get the exact shade again. And you can see the tooth of that paper and how canvassy it looks. Now we're starting to get the paint on. Okay, now I'm using a stroke going all the way across. If you wanted it to be flatter, you might want to go in both directions and keep going and keep getting a nice flat base. But because we're going to be mixing lots of other colours into that now, wet into wet, I'm not going to worry too much. So I just want to make it look as if perhaps we've got a bit of sky in the background and a few leaves and a few extra flowers. So I'm going to make a touch of green from, again with a little touch of linseed, some cerulean and some of the Naples. So it makes a very muted colour. But you'll see I've not got as much linseed in that as I did in the first mix. I'm just going to pop it in various places. And what we're going to do is just put the colour on at the moment, and then we're going to mix them together on the paper a little bit more as we go along. So the flowers are going to be in this area here, so I'm going to leave some of that without as much colour so we can paint over the top later. Now I'm going to use some cerulean just with some linseed on its own. In fact, I might actually add a touch of white as well to that. So these could be distant sky or leaves or trees or anything really in the background, as if the background's out of focus. And now some of the pink, as if we've got some of the flowers in the background. So again we'll need some white and some of the rose. And again it's a bit stronger than that first mix that we had. You'll see I'm not cleaning my brush in between because we're using all the similar colours and they're all going to be getting quite mixed together as well. And then some of the Naples, as if perhaps we've got some sun shining through. And again, these colours are thicker than that original background. So this is just the Naples on its own with some of the linseed. Now, so perhaps at the moment I'm thinking I've got enough colour in the background, just a little bit more cerulean actually, a bit more neat. Get a bit of contrast. But I think that's probably enough for now, so I'm going to wash that brush off. So that's just in water, and then I've got a cloth here, I'll just dry them off. And I'm just going to get a brush, it's a very soft fluffy one, and just carefully mix some of these colours together. without lifting them too much. And as I'm doing it, thinking about some sort of imaginary shapes of maybe leaves and trees and things behind. Barely touching the paper. Not wanting to lift anything off too much. And actually leaving some of those brush strokes as well so we can see those shapes that we've already made. Okay, and when you've done that, you can give that brush a rinse out as well. And now we're going to think about the foreground colours. So I'm just, to begin with, going to block in some of these flowers, and then we'll come back and do more of the actual detail. So I'll do this using a flat brush. And this time I'm not adding any more linseed oil to this plate. I'm just making up more of the white and rose mixed together. And so it's very, very thick compared to what we've already got on the paper. And I'm just going to put some basic shapes of where these flowers are. In fact, we need it to be quite a bit whiter than that. So this is sort of doing the drawing, although we're not really drawing, just showing us where those clumps of flowers are on this cherry. So very impressionistic, very loose. And just some almost neat white now on top of that, just to pick up some of those shapes. And to get some structure in, I've just washed that brush off and I'm going to make a colour for the actual branches. So for those, I'm going to use, let me think, some of the raw sienna and a touch of the blue, tiny touch of the red to make a grey. Too much red in there now, so we'll go back and get some more yellow. So this is the thing about making browns and greys, you've got to keep readjusting. That's made quite a nice browny colour, and again we'll put a tiny touch of white in, and this is just to indicate where this first branch is. It gives us something to work to. So cherry branches, they're quite gnarly, if that's a word, you know, they're spindly, don't look too strong. I'm going to make a bit more of that up, make it a bit thicker. So the 3 primary colours, and when you have more of the red and the yellow than you do the blue, it makes more of a browny colour than a grey. And again, using this same flat brush means we keep it quite loose, not too much detail. Just gradually building it all up. We have got some leaves on there, so we need a green for those, and we'll use this time some of the cobalt and a touch of the raw sienna. And just start and indicate where some of these leaves are. Again, we don't want too much detail to begin with. We're going to come back later and put some extra detail on top of all this. And some of these green bits are actually buds, you know, as they're coming out. With a cherry, there's some flowers out and some still to come out, so got some little bits of buds and things as well going on. Now you'll find when you're using your oils, I perhaps use too much, I'm not sure, but with the white, I always find I'm often running out of white. So now I've run out of white, so I need to get some more of that out. And now to get some of the darker, where the cherries are just coming out, the darker than the ones that are already out, which have got a lot of light coming through the petals and are much lighter. So I'm going to mix a little bit of blue into the rose to make it darker, to give us some of those bud colours. And they're in little sort of clusters. So by still using this same brush, I'm making it quite loose, not too much shape really, just to give us an impression of those shapes. So just keep moving and twisting your brush. We're just going to get that impression of the cherry by getting some of these different colours all together. So now the paint's going on more or less neat, and it's quite an impasto sort of way of painting. And now some of the white. So although I'm using it neat, once it gets onto that paper it's going to pick up some of the colours from below, so it's not going to look too harsh. And try and make more actual flower shapes now. So some of the colours from below that are mixing in are already starting to give us some sort of shadows and things on those petals. Now some of the neat naples, and in the centre of a lot of the flowers there's a bit of yellow. Oops. But also there's a lot of light shining through the tree, so to give that impression as well. So very little structure to these flowers. Just dabbing it on with this flat brush. Because I'm just putting some more of this brown on for these branches, and we've lost a little bit of the branch where we've gone over with the flowers. If we didn't have this branch here, I think it would lack a lot of structure. We need this, the actual form of these twigs here, so we know what we've got going on. I'm just going to lighten some of these leaves. I feel the leaf colour's a little bit dark, so I'm going to make another green, or actually add to that green some of the naples and some white. So obviously when you're working wet in wet, you do pick up colour from underneath and you've got to work very gently. But if you prefer not to do it like that and you prefer to be a bit more structured, then you could leave your background to dry a little bit before you start putting your other colours on. So leave it perhaps overnight until it goes a little bit tacky, and then you'll find it much easier to work on top of. At the moment I'm still feeling we've not got enough contrast going on. I know we wanted it to be very delicate, but I don't think we've got enough variation between the lights and the darks. So I'm going to get some more blue out and some more of the rose and just try and enhance some of those darks and lights to get some contrast. She'll get some more of the Naples out as well. So I'll carry on painting now, and I'll perhaps speed it up in places, but all I'm doing is just keep adding to the colours using these same colours and looking back and trying to get a bit more contrast between the lights and the darks, just to bring this foreground more forward away from the background. But I still want to keep it quite subtle and quite harmonious, so it's not going to be too bright. Okay, so if you have any questions, if you want to put those in the comments below. Other than that, I'll just carry on with this painting and show you what it's like at the end. Okay, so thanks for watching and enjoy the rest of the video.